Hey everyone. So today is the first set of actual content oriented lectures that I'm going to do for you. So, first, I wanted to give you a game plan of how this is going to work out for the rest of the semester as I've kind of figured things out. So, first of all, I want every week I will be uploading 3 videos to this YouTube channel. I will most likely go live for them and they will get uploaded sometime on Sunday. The first video is going to be a housekeeping video where I just talk about assignments, issues, the like random things that don't really fit into the lecture that I would give to you on one of the readings that we're doing. So, like this video right now, where I'm kind of giving you the game plan and letting you know how the semester is going to play out. So, that's going to be the first video. The second video will be a video on the first article or chapter of the book that we're reading. And then the second will be, or the third video will be on the other article or chapter. And if there is a week where I have 3 readings, it'll just be 1 video per reading, and the video will be titled based on what that reading is. So you have kind of 2 approaches that you can take towards the rest of the semester. The first one is if you feel really good about just doing the readings and following along and figuring things out for the final exam, then you can just do that and you don't need to watch the lecture videos that I give to you, but you probably should watch the weekly housekeeping video that I will upload for you because it'll just give you helpful information that you need, and it'll also be where I answer some of the questions that I might get from you all more broadly. So that's what that will be. All of these videos will get uploaded on Sundays, and all of these videos will be for you to watch at your discretion. My hope and my goal is to try and keep them under 10 or so minutes per video because I don't want to overwhelm you with content, but I also know that sometimes some of the stuff will be a little bit harder to get through, so I want to be able to kind of help guide you through the readings and highlight some of the key important issues for you. The next thing that I'm going to do is on Fridays, I will be hosting virtual office hours on Skype. So I will post in the announcement section of iCollege every Friday a link to a Skype chat that you can choose to join in on if you would like to, if you have questions, if you need to talk to me about anything that you've got going on, that will get posted there, and it will be from 2 to 3 p.m. So it'll be from 2 to 3 p.m., and I will just be available on Skype to anyone and everyone who needs to or would like to speak to me about something related to the class, or just whatever you need to talk to me about. I will be here for that. So we've got lectures going up on Sunday. Fridays from 2 to 3 p.m., I'll be hosting virtual office hours via Skype. If you would like to do a virtual meeting with me of any kind outside of that time frame, or you don't have access to Skype and you would like to have a meeting with me, just shoot me an email and we can get that figured out. The last thing that I have for you is a little bit of a discussion about the discussion boards process. So the third thing that's going to happen in these housekeeping videos is I am going to make some adjustments to the discussion issues and topics that we're doing each week. I'm going to create a discussion post on iCollege that will have some questions. That will have 2 sections every week. The first one is an area for you to kind of work through some of the questions that I might ask you during the lecture-oriented videos. And then the second section is for you to engage in a discussion and kind of do some creative, critical, analytical thinking about the issues that are going on. There is a part of me that thinks that we're going to just kind of get rid of the rest of the discussion topics throughout the semester and I would like to maybe try and start thinking everything through the coronavirus, COVID-19 kind of explosion that has happened, so that we have some strategies and some tactics to start kind of thinking more critically and intentionally about what's going on, about how we're taking in our news sources, about the arguments that different people are making with everything that's going on with the coronavirus, with COVID-19, with naming, visuals, all of it, because I think that that could be potentially helpful for us to start to kind of wrap our heads around this global pandemic event that has just kind of like blown up the normal operating lives of most people. And so I'm still kind of playing with that. This week, it's just going to be a check in and a kind of tips and tricks. And I'm going to put a link to, in the first discussion post, whatever it is we call those things on iCollege. I'm going to put a link to the episode of the Red Table Talk with Jada Smith and Willow and Jada's mother. I can't remember her name, but they do talking about the coronavirus, and I just kind of want to take a moment to do a check-in and to think about how are we thinking and taking care of ourselves as a priority, because I would like to just have that moment of check-in, and I think that that episode of the Red Table Talk is kind of wonderful for us to start breathing and taking reflection to ourselves, because this is a very weird moment for everyone. So those are the things that you're going to see in these housekeeping videos. And it is Sunday lectures. So I'll tell you, these are the topics of our lectures. A update for what your discussion topic is going to be, and any broad general updates on issues for the class broadly are going to be in these. So when it comes to assignments and everything else. This will be the longest of one of those housekeeping videos, hopefully, that we'll do, just because it's kind of setting us up for the rest of the semester and getting us into everything that's going on. So there are two things that we maybe want to talk about, and I want to make a reflection too. The first one is that there's going to be an update to the syllabus to reflect how the rest of the semester is kind of going to play out, what readings are going to get cut, what readings are going to get added, what kind of adjustments are going to happen. So you should take a note to iCollege and see an updated syllabus that should be available to you shortly. Second is we should talk a little bit about the midterm. So everyone should be able to see that the midterm is up and graded for you on iCollege. And you will also see that if you go into the assignments portal on iCollege and go through feedback, the grade that is reflected there is different than the grade that is in the grade sections of iCollege. I added an 11-point curve to the midterm exam, which basically takes whatever, I basically took whatever it is to get what was the highest grade up to an A, and that point total was added to everyone else's to kind of create a curve to the exam. So that means you got an 11-point curve, and your final grade is reflected over there. There are a couple of things that I think that we should make a note of. The first one is when it comes to short answer and short essay questions, we all need to be mindful and take the time to make sure that we're proofreading our answers and just checking grammatical structures, sentence fluency, and all of those other things, so that it's not just a bunch of kind of words and the thought explosion that sometimes we have when we get a question that ends up being the final answer that gets submitted. If there were concerns about what the allotted amount of time you had for the midterm exam was, then feel free to reach out to me, to leave me a comment, whatever it is that you would be the most helpful to you all, to let me know if it was too if you felt very time crunched at the end and that was maybe a result of some of it, we can make some adjustments to that for the final exam. The second thing is for a lot of us, um, we kind of missed the boat on what an essay question is. So I was getting a series of answers that were maybe 3 or 4 sentences long, but these were questions that were worth 20 points, which means they were double what the biggest short answer question was, if not a little bit more than that. Which means I was looking for a full 1 to 2 paragraph response. And anytime you receive an essay question from one of your professors for any kind of writing based class that you would take, that means you need to be making references to the readings that we've done throughout the semester to support and show your work. It's similar to in most of your math classes, right? They want you to show you how you got to the answer that you got to, not just that you have an answer. I need to see that you are making references and you can pull the connections to the readings in order for you to get full credit for those. The second is I need you to explain what you mean by a lot of things. And so a lot of people would be pulling the correct information out of the text, but you would never explain what any of it means. So I don't know that you know what you're saying. I only know that you have been able to find a selection from the reading to get those things taken care of. The last thing is when you're doing an essay exam like this and you have access to all of the resources, if you have made the decision to pull direct quotations out of the book or out of the readings, right? So for example, almost every student on the short answer question about symbolic action versus symbols pulled the definitions of a symbol and symbolic action out of the book and then never referenced the book, never put those portions in quotation marks, or you didn't write it in a way that made it very self-evident that this is the textbook definition of that language, right? Or of that term, which means almost everyone plagiarized on their midterm exam. Now, I understand it's a little weird and it's a little bit complicated when it comes to midterm exams, but this is something that we can't be doing. And we need to make sure that we're paying attention to those choices and working towards, right, being better writers even when we are doing an exam. And we're kind of, because this isn't about, and my goal is not for rote memorization and regurgitation. It's for you to be able to make connections and do the work to show that you have figured out how to do those kinds of applications, which means I'm not just looking for you to throw and prove to me that you can go into the textbook or go into an article, pull a line out of that, and copy and paste it into the exam when we get to the short answer and essay questions. That's not what I'm looking for, which is also why the other kind of broad issue had to do with the question around angry rhetoric. So for a lot of us, we went to and tried to summarize the article on angry rhetoric, but we never gave me like an example. Like what's a phrase, what's a sentence, what's a statement that can be construed as a moment of anger, and then unpack for me how is what's happening, right? So how is Malcolm X's the ballot or the bullet speech, right? The speech, an example of angry rhetoric, and then how does that speech do things like create symbolic reversal, collectivize our energy, and whatever the third one was off of the top of my head, shifting definitions-ish. But whatever those 3 things are, how do they do that and accomplish that? Not just, what is an article that talked about angry rhetoric? Because I already told you the article, so I know all of that information. So those are the 3 kind of big broad notes for the midterm into the final exam for where some of the biggest issues were missed. And we will take some time and I will maybe do a virtual office hour that's just dedicated towards unpacking those 2 essay questions about rhetoric and about argumentation, because those are vague, and most likely you will see those prop up in similar or different form on the final exam, with the expectation for better, more nuanced answers. So if we need to take some time to talk about those, we can either do it one-on-one, or I can host kind of a virtual office hours that is dedicated to that question. So you let me know what you need from those things, and let's get this semester started.